Judy, ex-President Trump wasn't at the Supreme Court today, but his case was, and the High Court will likely be a decision maker in this question of whether Trump may be barred from a ballot because he allegedly engaged in insurrection. The 9 justices asking critical questions about whether it's constitutional for a state to decide Trump can be banned from the ballot because of January 6th. In the landmark case before the U.S. Supreme Court, justices seemed broadly critical of Colorado's High Court decision to disqualify former President Trump from that state's primary ballot under the 14th Amendment. Section 3 prohibits an officer of the United States from holding public office who has taken an oath to the United States and then engaged in insurrection. Trump's attorney drawing a distinction between an elected president and an appointed officer.
Officer of the United States refers only to appointed officials, and it does not encompass elected individuals such as the president or members of Congress.
The attorney for Colorado pointing to the events of January 6th.
By engaging in insurrection against the Constitution, President Trump disqualified himself from public office.
Some of the U.S. justices questioning why a state would be allowed to decide a federal election without direction from Congress.
I think that the question that you have to confront is why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States.
Just doesn't seem like a state call.
Former federal prosecutor and ABC 7 chief legal analyst Gil Sofer.
It'll almost certainly go Trump's way. That was very clear from the questions that came out of the hearing today. You even had a liberal Supreme Court justice, Justice Kagan, saying, do we really allow one state to dictate the outcome of a presidential election, essentially for the whole country? There were a lot of similar questions coming from other justices, too. There's really not a desire, it seems, on the part of this court to keep Trump off this ballot.
Here in Florida today, a confident Donald Trump praising his legal team.
Our arguments were very, very strong. You take the person that's leading everywhere and say, hey, we're not going to let you run. You know, I think that's pretty tough to do.
Several justices today questioning whether the framers of the 14th Amendment had really intended to give states more power in the aftermath of the Civil War, when the federal government was actually trying to rein in former Confederate states. And justices today showing concern that there would be chaos if each state could define insurrection. This, of course, just one case currently involving ex-President Trump. He's also expected to soon ask the Supreme Court to rule on whether he should be immune from criminal prosecution in a separate D.C. case.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC 7 Chicago Eyewitness News.